Okay, hello, good morning. Good morning, class. So, nung oras na, it's already, it's already, 11:58 in the evening pala. So, 2 minutes before 12 a.m. Okay, so idediretso ko na itong Gec1 Module 2 natin. Okay, Gec1 Module 2. Proceed tayo sa Module 2, okay? So, sa Module 2, we have learning content, okay? Self as a social construct. Again, self as a social construct, okay? The self as a social construct is derived from the idea that society which takes part in its shaping is a social construction. Okay, again, what is a social construction? The self as a social construct is derived from the idea that society which takes part in its shaping. Okay, so naintindihan niyo yun? Sige, para maintindihan niyo ng klaro, okay? The self as a social construct. Kasi, ang self kasi, isa siyang social construct. Okay? Pagka sinabing social construct, okay, let me Google this to you, okay? Construct. Okay, so pag sinabing social construct, it is something that exists not in objective reality, but as a result of human interaction. So result pala siya ng human interaction. It exists because human agree that it exists. So, umiiral lang siya, nag-exist lang siya. It's because humans, mga tao, nagkasundo sila na it exists. Why social constructs are created? Yun. According to dito, social constructionism is a theory of knowledge in sociology and communication theory that examines the development of jointly constructed understandings of the world that form the basis for shared assumptions about reality. So, yun. Another one, according to Merriam-Webster, social construct definition is an idea that has been created and accepted by the people in a society. So, yun. So, meaning majority ng society accepted itong social construct. More on communication development, etc. So, yun ang social construct. So, again, the self as a social construct is derived from the idea that society which takes part in its shaping. So, yun, social construction, social construct. So, nakuha nyo na yung mga key terms doon, okay? Ang mga key terms doon is yung society. Society which takes part in its shaping. Okay? Naintindihan yun? May role ang society sa pag-shape ng social construction. Okay? Through social interaction and active understanding of the social reality by collective actions of people living together and their relationships become meaningful. Okay, so more on relationships ito sa friends, group of friends, okay, sa classmates, co-workers, peers, etc. Okay, so ito, living together and their relationships become meaningful through social interaction and active understanding of the social reality by collective actions of people. Of course, there is action. Living together and their relationship become meaningful. Okay, by By active understanding, it means that individuals are not only passive participants in their social life. Meaning, active understanding ito hindi siya passive. Pag active, it's very makilos, talagang active. Alam naman natin ang word na active. Pagka passive kasi parang tamad, ganun, hindi siya masyadong kumikilos. Yun ang passive. Pag active, very ito, talagang kumikilos ito. By active understanding, it means that individuals are not only passive participants in their social life. Through language, they privately and publicly utilize or share symbols within their interactions. Ayun, through language. Okay? Kasi paano magkakaroon ng interaction if there's no language? Okay? Naintindihan? So kunwari, yung dalawang PP. Okay? Kaya nga may sign language, di ba? May language pa rin sila. Sign language nga lang. Okay? So, without language, there's no interaction. Ito. Pagka sinabing interaction, ito yung pag-uusap. Pakikipagkapwa-tao. You interact with one another. Ganun. Okay? So, this creates a pattern that shapes and influences who they are, how they behave, and think. So, meaning, nagkakaroon tayo ng pattern, ng shapes. So, kung nagiging sino ba tayo, kung paano tayo mag-behave, and paano tayo mag-isip, it's because of interaction with people. So, yun nga yung social construct. Okay? Okay, naintindihan? Okay. The Self and Society. In 1996, Stephen found in his literature reviews that self has been characterized as separate, self-contained, independent, consistent, unitary, and private. Okay, so in 1996 ito. Okay, cited by Alata. Ito yung author niyan eh. Okay, sinasabi niya, found in his literature reviews that self has been characterized as separate, take note, separate, self-contained. Okay, pertaining to self ito Again, self has been characterized as separate, self-contained, independent, consistent, unitary, and private. Okay? Said characteristics suggest that self is distinct to others. It is self-contained and independent, meaning mag-isa lang siya or nag-i-stand alone siya. Pag independent kasi mag-isa, parang ganun. Nag-i-stand alone. Because it can exist by itself. It is contained in its own thoughts, characteristics, and volition. So according to Stephen ito, it does not allow others self for it to exist. Meaning, nag-exist yung sarili natin, hindi na nangangailangan ng ibang tao para mag-exist yung self natin. Okay, so as ourself, ito na siya, individual kasi according to Stephen. Okay, it has a personality that is enduring or persists over time. It is centered on its experiences and thoughts. In implication, self is isolated from the external world. Okay, so yan. So basahin na lang natin ito, okay? Taking the forefront when philosophy started to lose its frame in the era. Okay. Okay. In the era of understanding about the self, the discipline of sociology asserts that humans cannot be understood apart from its social context. Based on its idea, society is linked to the individual as they are inherently connected and dependent on each other. Okay, so lahat ng ito, philosophy ito ni philosophy ito ni Steven. Ito 1996 ito eh. Okay. Okay, so ulitin ko, okay? Based on its idea, society is linked to the individual as they are inherently connected and dependent on each other. Meaning, society pala, ang society, sosyedad, okay, ang lipunan, okay, is linked to the individual as of a large social grouping sharing Society is linked to the individual as they are inherently connected and dependent on each other. Meaning, ang isang tao pala dependent sa isa't isa. Ang mga tao dependent sila sa isa't isa. So, kayo dependent kayo sa akin. Ako dependent din ako sa inyo. Bakit? Magkakaroon ba ng teacher kung walang students? So, hindi. Magkakaroon ba ng students kung walang teacher? Hindi. So, meaning, dependent tayo from one another. Okay? So, dependent tayo sa mga farmers. Okay? Kasi, paano magkakaroon ng bigas kung walang farmers? Okay? Ang farmers, dependent sila sa mga gobyerno. Bakit? Kung walang gobyerno, ano mangyayari sa farmers? Diba? Kung walang negosyante, ano mangyayari sa farmers? Diba? Paano nila may bebenta yung palay nila? Kasi alangan, puro bigas lang ang kailangan nila. So, yun ang tinutukoy dito. So, based on its idea, society is linked to the individual as they are inherently connected and dependent on each other. Okay? Ganun yun. Okay? Society being composed of a large social grouping sharing in the same geographical territory implies that groups who are more or less living together have the same cultures and predisposed to institutions which provide their physical, social, and psychological needs and which maintain order and the values of the culture. Okay. So, naintindihan itong line na ito. Society being composed of large social grouping. Yung society daw na nagko-compose ng napakalaking social group, sharing in the same geographical territory. So, isang lugar lang ito. Geographical territory sa isang lugar lang ito. Implies that groups who are more or less living together have the same cultures. So pagka naipon yung mga taong yun, yung iisang lugar lang na yun, naipon silang lahat, let's say dito sa Angadanan o yung mga tao dito sa Angadanan, naipon sila dito, ang sinasabi dito, living together have the same culture. So iisa lang ang kultura nila. And predisposed to institutions which provide their physical, social, psychological, pag sinabing psychological, yung pagkatao natin, needs which maintain order and values of the culture. Ayun. So, pare-parehas sila ng mga traits na mga katangian. It's because iisang lugar lang sila. Okay? It makes us who we are by structuring our interactions and lay out an orderly world before us. As a result, an individual is capable of seeing through his or her experiences and the larger society called sociological imagination, in which society creates opportunities for him or her to think and act as well as limiting his or her thoughts and actions. Okay? Naintindihan ba? As a result, an individual is capable of seeing through his or her experiences. Ibig sabihin, ang isang individual may kapasidad na makita yung kanyang mga experiences. Okay? May kapasidad yung isang individual na makita yung kanyang mga experiences and the larger society called sociological imagination. Okay, in which society creates opportunities for him or her to think and act as well as limiting. So ibig sabihin, yung society ang nagbibigay sa isang tao para mag-improve, para ma-realize niya yung mga strengths and weaknesses niya. Okay, kung maisip niya to think and act as well as limiting his or her thoughts and actions para makapagmuni-muni siya sa sarili niya. Okay, so lahat ito nangyayari ito sa atin. Okay, lahat ito nangyayari ito sa atin kapag nakikipagkasalamuha tayo sa sosyedad. Okay, parang napapaisip tayo na ganito pala ako, ganito pala ako. Parang unti-unti lumalawak yung unawa natin sa sarili natin. Okay, yun yung resulta. Yun yung resulta ng the self and the society. Okay? Okay. So next, proceed tayo sa sociological theories of the self. Okay, letter A. The Looking Glass Self by Charles Cooley. Under ito sa sociological theories of the self. Okay? Letter A, ano ulit yung letter A? The Looking Glass Self by Charles Cooley. Okay? Sinasabi dito, I'm sorry. Sinasabi dito, Charles Cooley pioneered one of the most prominent sociological perspectives of the self. Okay, si Charles Cooley yon. Sinabi ni Charles Cooley, pioneered, ibig sabihin ng pioneered, siya yung nagpasimula. Okay? Si Charles Cooley, siya yung nagpasimula one of the most prominent sociological perspectives of the self. Ibig sabihin mo, isa siya sa mga nagpasimula. And most prominent, pagka sinabing prominent, dalubhasa, magaling. Okay? Sociological perspectives. I'm sorry. Okay, sociological perspectives of the self. So, kung ano ba yung perspective ng society sa self. So, he asserted that individuals develop their concept of self by looking, take note ulit ito. Sinasabi dito, he asserted that individuals develop their concept of self by looking at how others perceive them. So dito na pumapasok yung mga taong judgmental. Okay. Alam niyo na, iintindihan niyo ako, ano? Pagka ginajudge tayo ng isang tao, parang nadadown tayo, ano? Right? Tama 'yun. Okay? Kunwari, sinabi ni ganito, ay alam mo ang sama ng ugali mo. Nadadown tayo, 'di ba? Bakit? Kasi it is according to Charles Cooley. He asserted that individuals develop their concept of self by looking at how others perceive them. So, yun nga, parang kunwari pagka may nagsabing ang bait mo, parang feeling din natin ang bait talaga natin, ano? On the other hand, kapag may nagsabi sa atin na ang sungit mo, parang feel natin sarili natin ang sungit ko pala, parang ganun. Okay, so ito yung study ni Charles Cooley. Okay? At itong theory na ito ay the looking glass self. Ulit, the looking glass self. Okay. Yung the looking glass self na ito, napaperceive natin yung sarili natin sa kung ano ang tingin ng iba sa atin. Kung tingin nila sa atin ay mabait tayo, feeling natin mabait din tayo. Kung tingin nila natin masungit tayo, masungit din tayo. Kung tapang tayo, matapang tayo, etc. Okay? Hindi ko na ulitin yun. Proceed tayo dito. Using the view of others, Cooley denotes that understanding of self is socially constructed. Ayan, socially constructed ang understanding of the self. Mas naiintindihan natin ang ating sarili kapag nakikisalamuha tayo sa mga kapwa-tao natin. Okay? Naintindihan. Okay? Through social interaction, one's self or self is mirrored from the judgment they receive from others to measure their own worth, values, and behavior. This process involves the following steps. Number 1, an individual in a social situation imagines how they appear to others. Again, yung individual sa isang sosyedad, ini-imagine nila kung gaano bang dating sa kanila sa ibang tao. For example, kayo sa mga barkada ninyo. 'Di ba? Minsan nag-iimagine kayo na ano kaya ang itsura ko kapag kasama ko ang barkada ko. 'Di ba ganon? Alalahanin natin nung elementary tayo. 'Di ba? Ganon, parang pinag-aaralan natin yung sarili natin na kapag kasama ko kaya sila ano kayang tingin nila sa akin. So yun. Okay, number 2 tayo that individual imagines others' judgment of that appearance. So ini-imagine nila yung judgment ng appearance mo. Okay? Alam na natin yun. Okay? Number 3, the individual develops feeling of pride or shame in response to those perceived judgments. So, kapag may nagsasabi sa atin, nagkakaroon tayo ng nagde-develop sa atin yung feeling ng pride. Kapag nag-judge tayo na kunwari, ang judge sa atin is pangit ka, ganyan. Nagkakaroon tayo ng shame. Kunwari sama ka, nagkakaroon tayo ng shame. So, alam mo, bastos mo, napapahiya tayo. Yun yung mga feelings na na-develop sa atin. On the other hand, kapag pinupuri naman tayo ng mga tao, nagkakaroon tayo ng sense of pride. Okay? Kapag inaano nila tayo, parang nililift nila tayo. So, nagkakaroon tayo ng feeling of pride. Okay, sa tatlo yun, okay? So, seemingly, the theory of Charles Cooley is appealing if not complicated by some context of interaction and nature of people involved in the process. Feedback, for one, plays an important role in the process. However, not all feedback are taken or carried out in the same weight. Thus, not all judgments or view of other people to oneself may affect how he or she measure his or her growth, values, and behavior. So, hindi lahat ng judgments nakakaapekto kung ano yung magiging tingin natin sa sarili natin. Pagka sinabi nilang masama tayo, hindi yun yung totality na kabuuan na makakaapekto sa pagkatao natin. Okay, it's because meron din tayong faith sa sarili natin na alam natin hindi naman tayo masamang tao, hindi naman tayo loko. Ganun yun. For instance, some take responses from those whom they trust more seriously than those of strangers. Misinterpretations of signals may also occur from the point of view of the person examining him or herself. One's value system can also be taken into consideration when thinking through any changes to their behavior or views of the self. So may mga misinterpretations din. Wala namang perfectong tao. So lahat nagkakamali. Okay? May also occur from the point of view of person examining himself or herself. One's value system can be also taken into consideration when thinking through any changes to their behavior or views of self. Ultimately, people constantly seek to create consistency between their internal and external worlds and therefore continue to perceive, adjust, and strive for equilibrium throughout their lives. So, meaning, itong social construct na ito ay it's a continuous process. It's a continuous process siya na from time to time, people constantly seek to create consistency between their internal and external worlds. Therefore, continue to perceive, continue to adjust, and strive for equilibrium throughout their lives. So yun, meaning socialization is a continuous process. Okay, ganun yun. Letter B na tayo. Theory of the Self-Development by George Herbert Mead. Okay, similar to Charles Cooley's theory of self, George Herbert Mead also gave emphasis to others' perspective in view of oneself. As a prerequisite of being able to understand the self, one has to develop self-awareness. Self-awareness, okay? Para daw maintindihan natin yung better understanding of the self, ang prerequisite doon ay self-awareness. Okay? Dapat aware tayo sa sarili natin. Aware tayo kung ano yung mga nagagawa natin. Di ba? Minsan, napapansin natin, ay sumusobra na pala ako. Minsan napapansin natin, ay kulang pa pala yung ginagawa ko. Ganon. Nagkakaroon tayo ng assessment. Okay? Self-assessment or self-awareness. Okay? This can be derived from looking at ourselves from the perspective of others. Yun na naman, this can be derived from looking at ourselves. Tinitignan natin ang ating sarili sa paningin ng iba. Okay? For instance, we put ourselves into someone else's shoes and look at the world through that someone's perspective. So ito, isang instance na naman ito na yung sarili natin ipupunta natin dun sa kalagayan ng taong yun. Okay? What if yung taong yun na mahirap lang siya, na marami siyang problema sa buhay. Imaginein ko kaya, what if ako kaya iyon? O yun, nagkakaroon tayo ng ito. We put ourselves into someone else's shoes and look at the world through that someone's perspective. So kunwari, nakakita tayo ng isang taong ano ba tawag dito? Parang problemado. Okay. Hindi mo na problemado. Siguro naiinis siya, lagi siyang galit. Galit siya sa mundo, ganun. So, bakit ganun? Bakit kaya siya nagagalit sa mundo? Bakit kaya siya galit lagi, ganun? So, ilalagay natin yung sarili natin sa sarili ng taong yun para madama natin kung bakit kaya ganito yung mga kinikilos niya. So, maiintindihan natin na kaya pala ganito yung mga kinikilos ng taong yun. It's because marami pala siyang problema. Okay? This process is only made possible by social interaction. Ayun na nga. Social interaction. We can put ourselves into someone else's shoes. Through interaction, kakausapin natin yung tao, ganun. For example, sa mga best friends natin, di ba? Best, ano bang nangyayari sa'yo? Bakit ka ba ganyan? Yan. Okay? So, habang nakikipag-usap tayo sa mga best friends natin, okay, parang, ayun na nga, dinadama na natin siya. What if ako yung nasa kalagayan niya? Ganun. Bes, gusto ko nang huminto ng pag-aaral. Diba? Papasok mo yung sarili mo sa kalagayan niya, ginajudge natin agad siya na parang ang tanga-tanga mo naman, bakit kayo hinto? Ganun. So unang-una, magkakaroon tayo ng empathy, bakit kaya niya nasasabi yun? Okay? Bakit niya kaya nasasabi na gusto na niyang huminto? Okay. Para makapagbigay tayo ng magandang advice, kailangan nating iput yung sarili natin dun sa kalagayan ng isang tao. Okay? Na, kaya pala gusto niyang huminto. Wala silang pera, wala silang panggastos. Okay. So, by then, makakabigay tayo ng magandang advice na, bes, naiintindihan kita. Kung ako'y nasa kalagayan mo, baka yan din ang iisipin ko. Pero hindi ganyan ang solusyon. Mga ganun bagay. Okay? If social interaction is absent, particularly in one's early experiences, he or she will find difficulty in developing an ability to see himself as others would see him or her. So, kung walang social interaction, hindi natin ma-develop yung ability. Hindi natin ma-develop yung ability natin na ma-assess yung sarili natin, makita yung sarili natin, makita natin yung iba. 'Di ba? Kung walang social interaction, imagine nyo kung wala kayong kausap, wala kayong classmate, wala kayong kinakausap, ganun. Paano nyo ma-assess yung sarili nyo kung tama pa ba yung ginagawa nyo o mali? 'Di ba? So kailangan natin ng ibang tao para magtulungan tayo sa isa't isa na ma-develop natin yung isa't isa. So naintindihan? According to Med, the self in such case is not being developed. So, theory of self-development. Okay, by stages, Med states that self develops through social interaction. Ito, so according to Med daw ito, Med. Med states that self develops through social interaction. We have 3. Okay. Okay, we have 3, okay? Number 1 is the preparatory stage, number 2, play stage, and number 3, the game stage. What is preparatory stage? Preparatory stage, children in this stage are only capable of imitating actions of others. Ito. So, self-development ito. Preparatory stage ito. So, yung mga bata daw, ginagaya lang nila kung ano yung nakikita nila sa mga tao. Okay, naintindihan niyo yan? Okay. Naalala ko nung bata ako, nakikita ko yung tatay ko ninigarilyo. Kaya ang ginawa ko, kumuha ko ng papel, binalot ko yung papel, at kunwari naninigarilyo din ako. Hindi ko alam kung bakit ko ginagawa yun. Ginagawa niyo rin yun, alam ko, di ba? Ginagawa niyo rin yun. So, that is preparatory stage. Okay? People they particularly in contact with, such as their family members, they have no ability to imagine yet how others see things. Wala silang alam, wala silang idea kung ano yung talagang nangyayari sa mundo. Meron nga kunwari yung tatay niya, kunwari nagmomotor. Gagawa na rin siya, sasakyan din niya yung motor niya, kunwari nagmomotor din siya. 'Di ba? Yung nanay niya nagluluto sa mga girls. Okay? Nanay niyo nagluluto, anong bata kayo ang ginagawa niyo? Luluto din kayo. Kukuha kayo ng papel, pupunit-punitin yung mga papel. Okay? Tapos kunwari yun yung mga niluluto nyo. Mga ganun. So ginagaya pa lang, hindi nila alam kung ano yung ginagawa ng mga nanay at tatay nyo noon. Mga bata pa kayo noon So alam nyo nagluluto lang ganun, pero hindi nyo alam na may mga ingredients pala yun, may step by step process pala yun, ganun, etc. Next, we have the play stage. At this stage, children begin to try to take on the role of other person by acting out grown-up behaviors, dressing like adults. Okay, so itong play stage na ito, mas advanced ito sa preparatory stage. Okay? It's because alam na nila yung ginagaya nila na matured na. Kaya ang ginagawa nila, Kunwari yung tatay nila, tatrabaho, okay? O, kunwari, tatay nila, teacher, okay? Ginagaya nila yung tatay nila. So, kumikilos din sila na parang teacher. Ayan o, grown up behaviors dressing like adults. Okay. Nakikita nila yung parents nila na kung paano sila mag-behave. Okay. Kung paano sila kumilos na bilang matured na tao. Ayun. Kung paano sila manamit. Okay. Kasi nung bata tayo, sige, kung ano lang isuot natin, ganyan, nung ano na tayo, gusto nung nasa play stage pa tayo, gusto natin kunin yung role ng mga grown up behaviors. Okay, yun yung nasa play stage tayo. At yung nasa game stage tayo, yung number 3, nasa game stage tayo. While children learn about several roles of others, they understand how these roles interact with each other in this stage. So meaning, itong game stage na to, alam na nila yung ginagampanan nila na kapag ginaya nila yung papa nila masipag, ayun. Okay? They learn to understand complex interactions involving different people with variety of purpose. In a restaurant, for instance, a child understands different responsibilities of people who work together for a smooth sailing experience. She understands that someone from the restaurant take orders, others wash dishes, cook food, etc. So dito sa game stage na iintindihan na natin yung role ng isa't isa. Okay? Naintindihan? Kung bakit yung teacher nagtuturo, gano'n, yung mga role ng isa't isa. Ano pa ba? Yung mga gwardya, anong role ng mga gwardya? Siyempre, binabantayan nila yung mga pumapasok na tao. So, naiintindihan na nila. Wherein nung bata pa tayo, hindi pa natin masyado naiintindihan yun. Bakit may gwardya? Bakit may baril? Hindi ba gano'n? Bakit may ganito? Bakit may ganyan? Mga tao, anong ginagawa ng ganyan? Hindi pa natin alam. Pero, nung nasa game stage na tayo, nauunawaan na natin lahat. Okay? Ito na, number 4. 4 pala, sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay? Okay, according to Med, apat pala yung stage that self-develops through social interaction. Apat pala ito. Number 1 is preparatory stage. Number 2 is play stage. Number 3 is game stage. And number 4 is generalized other. Okay? Dito sa generalized other, in this stage, children develop, understand, and learn the idea of the common behavioral expectations of the general society. Ayun na. Ano ang pinagkaiba ng generalized other sa game stage? Okay? Pagka kasi sinabing game stage, understanding lang siya. Understanding lang. Naiintindihan natin yung mga tao kung bakit nila ginagawa ito, yung pulis, bakit may gwardiya, bakit may janitor, etc. But generalized other, in this stage, children develop, understand and learn the idea of common behavioral expectations of general society, meaning nade-develop na rin sa mga bata. Wherein dun sa game stage, wala pang development. Okay? More on understanding lang. Pero dito sa generalized other, nagde-develop na rin yung bata na ano kaya ang gusto kong role. Gusto ko makatulong na rin ako sa society. Ganon. Okay? So, they are able to imagine how they are viewed by one or many. Med pointed out the self in this stage is being developed. Okay, so nade-develop na raw yung pagkatao natin dito sa number 4, which is the generalized other. Okay, proceed tayo sa the self and culture. The self should not be seen as a static entity which remains constant through time. It persistently struggles with its external reality and is malleable in dealing with it. Being active participant in its social world, the self, through interaction na naman, is made and remade. Again, the self, through social interaction, is made and remade. So, mabubuo yung sarili natin through social interaction. As it is continuously interacts with others, society is continually changing and dynamic. So that's the self. Okay. So sinasabi dito ang sosyedad natin is continually changing and dynamic. Pagka sinabing dynamic, lagi siyang nagbabago, pabago-bago, nagbabago. Pati daw yung sarili natin, lagi tayo nagbabago. Every day may pagbabago sa sarili natin. Okay. Self being endlessly exposed to its social world and is subjected to its influences here and there, while the social world is changing and dynamic. Yung self kasi, may influence kasi dyan. Self is being endlessly exposed to social world. Pagka na-expose tayo sa social world, to it, subjected to its influences here and there. So yun, nai-influence kasi ang self. Tell me who your friends are and I will tell you who your friends Tell me who your friends are and I will tell you who you are. Yun. Okay. Kapag palagi kang sumasama sa mga taong basag ulo, ganon, gagaguhan ng ginagawa, tendency magiging gago ka. Okay? Pero kapag sumama ka sa mga taong mapagmahal, mga masisipag, okay, mga mabubuting tao, magiging mabuting tao ka. While the social world is changing and dynamic. So yung society natin daw, lagi daw nagbabago yan, laging nag-iiba-iba yan. Being the same person across time and space, therefore, is illogical. Okay? Ayun. So, being the same person, therefore, is illogical. Okay? Bakit naging illogical? It's because, nung bata ka, pagtanda mo, hindi na ikaw yun. Okay? Nung tumanda ka na, nag-ibang tao ka na. Ganun yun. In this perspective, self is considered as multifaceted. Okay, proceed tayo dito. Damoy and person self. Okay. So, sa Damoy and person self, Marcel Mauss and his contemporaries claim that society is a result of a process whereby actions of humans is built upon everyday social continuity. Ayun. So, sinasabi daw nila na si Marcel and Mauss, sinasabi nila na yung society daw ay resulta ng isang proseso ng mga actions ng mga humans. Nabubuo ito sa araw-araw na social na mundo. Ganun. Yun. Okay? As an anthropologist and sociologist, he asserted that self adapts to its everyday social condition. Ibig sabihin daw, yung sarili daw natin nakaka-adapt sa isang society. Okay. Ngayon, nandito tayo sa Pilipinas. Okay? Balang araw gusto nating mag-abroad. Pagpunta natin ng abroad, nahihirapan tayo. Okay? Totoo naman, nahihirapan tayo. Pero kapag tumagal tayo sa abroad, mahirapan pa ba tayo? Hindi na. Okay? It's because nag-a-adapt yung sarili natin sa environment ng abroad. Kapag tumagal ang isang tao sa Saudi, minsan parang ayaw na niyang umuwi kasi nasanay na siya sa Saudi. Lalo yung mga kamag-anak nyo, mari tumagal na sila sa Amerika. Ayaw na nilang umuwi. Ganun yun. It's because the self adapts to its everyday social condition. In particular, the behavior of human groups and the way they perceive themselves in daily life are influenced by their environmental and seasonal variation. Ayun na nga, nakaka-influensya yung environment and season. Everyday life is an endless process of actions and exchanges between and among humans to sustain their existence and meet their needs. Cultural identity, therefore, is intertwined with space and time, making oneself determined according to its circumstances and context. Okay? So, naintindihan. As a result of this notion, Marcel Mauss asserted that every self has two faces, the person and the moi. According to Marcel Mauss, take note, every self has two faces. One is the person and another one is the moi. Moi refers to a person's sense of who he is, his body and his basic identity, his biological givens. So yung moi, kung ano yung nasa-sense mo kung sino ka. Kunwari, ako, alam ko na ako ay mabait. So, yun yung moi. Ako, alam ko ako ay stricto. Yun yung moi. Etc. So, yan inaintindihan. Okay. Yung person naman, okay. Yung moi, para hindi kayo malito, yung moi, it is a person's basic identity. Okay. So sa person naman, on the other hand, is composed of the social concepts of what it means to be who he is. Okay? To be who he is. Yung person, kung paanong maging ikaw, yun. Kasi sinasabi dito, composed of social concepts of what it means to be who he is. It has much to do with what it means to live in a particular institution, a particular family, a particular religion, a particular nationality. Ibig sabihin, pagka sa person, ano yung ikikilos ko kapag kasama ko yung barkada ko? Okay? Ano yung ikikilos ko kapag kasama ko yung pamilya ko? Ano ang ikikilos ko kapag kasama ko yung mga classmates ko? Yun ang person. Pero yung moi, yun yung kilala mo yung sarili mo, refers to a sense of who he is. His body and his basic identity, yung identity natin, his biological givens. Yun yung moi. Pero yung sa person, kung magiging ano ka kung kasama mo yung pamilya mo, kung sino ka kung kasama mo yung mga classmates mo, kung sino ka, etc. So ayun, ayun lang. So yun, sa mga nahihirapan pala sa judgments ng iba, I suggest be who you are. Okay? Be who you are. Hindi nila didiktahan kung magiging sino ka. Okay? Basta alam mo, wala kang inaapakan tao. Wala kang ginagawang mali. Okay? Nagtatrabaho ka na maayos. Gawin mo. Kung sabihin nila masungit ka, sino ba sila? Okay? So, hindi sila ang napapakain sa iyo. Basta lagi natin tatandaan, wala tayong inaagrabyadong tao. Wala tayong inaapakan tao. Maayos tayong tao. Tapos sapat na yun para wag tayong maguluhan. Okay? Kasi sabihin ng iba, bakit hindi ka naging ganito? Bakit hindi ka naging ganyan? Okay? Wag nating anuhin. Okay? Various person can be illustrated across culture. Okay? In the Philippines, part of the Filipino person of who they are is their territory. This includes considering their immediate surroundings as part of them, thus, the perennial tapat ko, linis ko. Ayan. So, ito yung person na sinasabi kapag ka nasa society tayo. Ang person natin is tapat ko, linis ko. Pagka sinabing person, okay, yun yung kung ano ang dapat kong gawin. Kapag ka nasa barangay tayo, yun yung dapat kong gawin. Tapat ko, linis ko. Pero kapag diba, etc. Language is also an interesting aspect of who Filipinos are. Filipinos articulate love with the famous phrase, mahal kita. Okay, yun. Na-express natin yung love natin. Mahal kita. Okay? Through mahal kita, na-express natin yung love natin. This phrase, if translated in English, means I love you. Unlike in English, the Filipino version of I love you, however, does not specify who the subject and the object of love. There is no specification of who loves and who is being loved. Interestingly, the word mahal in the Philippines can be both mean love and expensive. Love is intimately bound with the value, while being expensive means being precious. Putting together someone or something expensive is therefore valuable. Okay? Someone whom we love is valuable. When taken from its Sanskrit origin, love can also mean desire. Another interesting facet of Filipino language is its being gender neutral. The word siya is used to refer to either boy or girl. In other languages, especially English and Spanish, demarcation between male and female pronunciation is clear. In English, he is referred to male while she refers to female. So yun, marami tayong kasabihan na sinasabi ito sa language ito. Okay? Okay, so as these examples depicts cultural divide, it goes to show how one regards oneself differently from others. The language, which has something to do with one's culture, has a tremendous effect in crafting of the self. So may tremendous effect yung language sa pag-craft ng sarili natin, sa paghubog ng sarili natin, kasama ang lengguwahe. Okay? The I and the me self. As an offshoot of this theory previously presented, George Herbert Mead characterized the self as I and me. Based on the theory, an individual imports from the social process. As an individual organism, he or she may display gestures on his or her own, but takes collective attitude of others and reacts accordingly to their organized attitudes while in constant interaction with them. The process, according to Mead, involves the creation of the two faces of the self. The me is the social self and the I is the response to the me. Both arising from the social process, the I is the one responding to the attitudes of the others, while me is the result of the I. Assuming the organized set of attitudes, etc., etc., etc. Okay, the I learns about the me, hence it is the knower while the me is the known. Okay, pagka sinabing I kasi, okay, assuming the organized set of attitudes of the others, it is the result of the individual accumulated understanding of the generalized other. The I learns about the me, hence it. Okay. Okay. Pagka kasi sinabing I, okay, you take responsibility. I love you. Okay, I love you. Pagka kasi sinabing me, ito ako. I is the action. Pagka me, ito ako. Parang me. Ganon yun. So ito yung language kasi the I and the me self. I mean, yung self being I, yung self being me. Yung I kasi, it takes action. Pero pagka me, ito na yung ikaw. Okay. Me. Ayan. Anyway, pagka may question kayo dito, pwede nyo akong tanungin. Magla-live discussion tayo about dito sa the I and the me self. Okay? So for now, let's proceed to Lev Vygotsky. Okay? Lev Vygotsky, together with George Herbert Mead, Lev Vygotsky stressed the importance role of language acquisition and interaction with others in human development. Okay? Yung role ng language natin ay very important pala sa human development. According to them, Mind is made or constituted through language that one acquires or experiences with his or her external world. So this process is mediated by one's internal dialogue with his or her own head. Through it, he or she learns to internalize values, norms, practices, social beliefs. Yun, through knowledge, through language. Na natututo daw tayo na mag-internalize ng values, okay, mga norms, kaugalian, mga practices, social beliefs, yan, mga paniniwala, ayan, through language, natututunan natin yung mga yan. Consistent exposure to internal dialogues will eventually become part of one's individual world. Ayun, nagiging mundo na natin yun. Kapag kausap natin mga matatalinong tao, nagiging matalino tayo. Okay, ganun yun. For me, role-playing of children indicates that they create scripts in their head, thus a manifestation of internal dialogue within self. Okay? Okay, for med, ayun daw, yung role-playing of children indicates that they create scripts in their head. So, nag-iisip daw sila ng mga script nila sa isip nila kung ano yung sasabihin nila. Yun yung manifestation ng internal dialogue. So, ayun, within self. For Vygotsky, a child internalizes real-life dialogues that he or she had with others by recycling this during one of their mental and practical problem solving. So, for Vygotsky naman, yung isang bata, mas na-internalize niya yung real-life dialogues na nakasalo na experience niya sa iba. Okay, by recycling during one of their mental and practical problem solving. So ayun, so na-internalize niya yung real life dialogues, gan kung paano siya makipag-usap dito, ganon. So nire-recycle na lang niya yun, na-adapt niya kasi. Okay, so self in families na tayo. Okay, self in families na tayo. Okay, every human is born helpless or dependent from the external world. Okay, so lahat daw ng tao kapag pinanganak, wala pa siyang kaya. Okay, ang mga baby hindi niya kaya mag-isa, hindi niya kaya mabuhay mag-isa. Yung mga baby, hindi nila kaya mabuhay mag-isa. The first group that one interacts with and depend for the fulfillment of his or her needs is the family. Okay. Ayun, yung unang grupo na tutulong sa'yo, yun yung pamilya mo. Okay? As the basic social institution, yun yung family, basic unit of society, family. The family is the primary provider or source of a child's needs. Yung pamilya natin na magbibigay sa atin ng mga pangangailangan natin. Kailangan natin ng gatas, kailangan natin ng pagkain, kailangan natin ng pera. Pamilya ang matatakbuhan natin. It is also the main avenue for teaching young individuals the basic things they need to learn in order to fit the society. Kaya ang unang-una nating mga guro ay ang mga magulang natin. Sila ang unang nagturo sa atin kung paano mabuhay. Okay? Wala pa tayong mga teachers noon. Okay? Tinuruan tayo ng nanay natin paano magluto. Tinuruan tayo ng tatay natin paano magtrabaho, magkarpentero. Sila ang una nating mga guro. Okay? It has also the capacity to develop or encourage the actualization of one's potentials. So, yung mga magulang natin ang naglalabas ng potentials natin, yung pamilya natin. These are all made possible by way of socialization whereby one learns basic way of living. So, natututunan natin yung basic ways ng pamumuhay sa pamamagitan ng family. Okay? Living language values by way of imitating or observation or teaching by an adult member of the family such as the mother and the father. Ayun. So, kung ano yung mga nakikita natin sa mother and father, nanay at tatay natin, nakukuha din natin yun. Ayun. A child learns way of living his or her selfhood by being with the family. Learning self in the family is conscious or unconscious. If reared with a respectful family, Kapag ka sumama tayo sa isang pamilyang respetado, nagiging respetado tayo. Kapag ka sumama tayo sa isang pamilyang magaling makipag-usap, nagiging magaling tayo makipag-usap. Okay? Then she becomes conversational. Ways of living that are explicitly taught are those that are basic for the child to learn, such as table manners, kung paano tayo kumain, kung paano tayo makipag-usap sa matatanda. Okay? Through rewards and punishments, some behaviors and attitudes are indirectly taught to a child. Okay? Through rewards, kapag ka mabuti ang ginawa mo, anak, bibigyan kita ng pera. Okay? Mabuti ang ginawa mo, anak, ito, bibigyan kita ng pera. Pero kapag masama ang ginawa mo, hihanda mo na yung puwit mo. Diba? Walang magulang na gusto mapasama ang anak. Lahat ng magulang gusto bumuti ang anak. Okay? Through rewards and punishments, some behaviors and attitudes are indirectly taught to a child. Okay? So, itong mga ito, nakukuha natin sa parents natin itong mga ito. Okay? For example, talking about sexual behavior or how to comfort emotions are internalized by a child through interpreting intonation of voice by adults or of their model in the family. Okay. So, yun. Nakikita natin yung emosyon ng mga magulang natin sa tono ng pananalita nila. Diba? Kung galit sila, alam natin galit sila. Yung pananalita nila. Okay? Kung masaya sila, alam natin masaya sila. Kung napapagod sila, alam natin pagod sila. Sa tono ng pananalita nila. Okay? For example, clearly, this point out that becoming an adult who does not learn about basic matters such as manners or conduct indicates failure of the family to initiate him or her into the world. To initiate him or her into the world. So meaning yung mga adult na hindi natuto ng galang, okay, ng tamang asal, okay, failure ng pamilya na palakihin yun na maging magalang, okay, na palakihin siyang maging isang buting tao, okay, kasi nagsisimula kasi ang isang ugali ng isang tao sa pamilya niya, okay, kung paano siya palakihin ng magulang niya. Kung pinalaki siya ng magulang niya na mabait, magiging mabait siya. Ganun yun. Kaya nga, alam nyo yung mga tao na inaabandona, yung mga batang inaabandona, di ba sila yung mga nagiging masama, sila yung nagiging drug addict. Masasama ang ginagawa nila kasi wala silang magulang. Napakalaki ng role ng magulang sa buhay natin. Okay. Napakalaki ng role nila. Kung wala sila, wala tayo. Hindi tayo pwedeng magmalaki sa mga magulang natin. Okay. Lahat ng meron tayo dahil sa kanila yan. Kung nakapagtapos ka ng pag-aaral, dahil sa parents mo yan. Kung nakapag-aral ka, nasa college ka na, nasa parents mo yan. Hindi mo pwedeng pagmalakihan ng mga magulang mo. Kahit pa may pinag-aralan ka, hindi mo pwedeng sagot-sagutin ng mga hirap nila. Hindi mo alam ang pinagdaanan nila. Okay? So, ano ang punto natin doon? It's because the family is the one who taught us how to behave. Sila ang unang nagturo sa atin paano mabuhay. Okay? Another important aspect of social process within the family is the learning of gender by a child. Gender partly determines how one sees him or herself in the world. Through gender is considered as one aspect of the self that is subject to alteration, change, and development. So meaning, ang gender pala na-change, na-alter. Okay. Yung isang lalaki, dati lalaki siya, nung lumaki siya, naging bading, naging bakla. It's because gender, na-change kasi siya nade-develop kasi siya. It is noteworthy that its concept is primarily acquired. Its concept is primarily acquired in the family. Okay? Meaning, yun, sa family na de-develop. Ganun. Kung yung bata, makamama, okay? Gusto niya si mama, mahilig siya kay mama. Okay, nagiging bading, 'di ba? Kung ang bata mag-isa lang siyang lalaki, tapos yung mga kapatid niya puro babae. Ano mangyayari doon? Magiging bading, magiging Becky, gano'n. Diba? Kung yung babae naman, puro kapatid niya mga lalaki, magiging tomboy, gano'n. Okay, kasi it is noteworthy that its concept is primarily acquired in the family. Yan yung gender natin na bubuo sa pamamagitan ng pamilya natin. Okay. Kapag ikaw na lalaki, kapag kay tatay mo lalaking lalaki talaga, nagiging lalaki ka talaga. Ganun yan. Okay. In a relatively conservative culture such as the Philippines, for instance, husbands for the most part are expected to provide for the family. Ibig sabihin, ang nagpo-provide sa pamilya ay ang lalaki. Ang nagtatrabaho sa pamilya, lalaki. Okay. Hindi pwede ang babae ang bumuhay sa pamilya, hindi pwede 'yon. Exposed to this kind of system, the sons in the family internalize an inkling to being a future provider to behave and think like a man. So yung panganay, sila yung mga inaasahan ng pamilya na sila yung pangalawang tatayo bilang tatay. Naintindihan niyo ako? Kasi ang panganay ang lakas ng pamilya. Diyan nakasalalay yung lakas ng pamilya. Kaya kailangan ng tamang pag-alaga ng mga magulang sa mga panganay. Okay. Okay, naintindihan niyo ako? Okay. Female members of the family who are mostly exposed to their mother's role tend to imitate the same mentality of women as care providers. Yung mga nanay natin, sila yung nag-aalaga sa atin. Alam naman natin yan, di ba? Kaya naman, yung mga anak natin babae, kapag kakasama nila yung mga nanay natin, okay, so nagagaya nila yung characteristics ng nanay natin na maalaga din. Kaya pagka lumaki sila, nagiging maalaga sila. Ganun ang mga babae, maalaga sila. Aalagaan nila yung mga anak nila, yung asawa nila, aalagaan nila. Ganun. Okay. Providing dolls instead of guns to girls also reinforces the notion of what roles they should take, thus the kind of self-concept they should develop. Okay, so ang binibigay sa mga anak na dalaga ay mga walis, mga pangluto, okay, hindi mo naman sila bibigyan ng baril, ganon, kasi nga babae sila. So meaning, kung ano yung gamit ng babae, ibinibigay sa kanila. Okay. Proceed tayo dito. Teaching and learning activities. Activity. Okay. Me and my social world. Okay. Ito na ito. Okay. Okay. So, tapos na tayo dito sa module 2. Okay. So, I hope may naintindihan kayo. Masyado ako mabilis mag-explain. Kung may mga katanungan pa tayo, just message me. I-discuss natin yan live online. Okay?